from Y News. The Philippine National Police reports that the number of election hotspots rose to around 8,000. The Philippine economy grows by almost 7% in the first quarter of the year. And a lawmaker pushes for additional assistance for those affected by the tax reform law. Y News begins now.
From the UNTV News and Rescue Command Center in Quezon City, this is Y News.
Good evening. The number of election hotspots in the country has climbed to nearly 8,000 according to the Philippine National Police. Authorities say the said number might still double before the election day. Roderick Mendoza will tell us why.
The number of election hotspots might double days before the May 14 Barangay and Sangguniang Kabataan elections. DILG Undersecretary for Barangay Affairs Martin Dino said vote-buying incidents are still prevalent in various parts of the country.
Marami pa rin kami na-receive na reports, complaint.
The number of poll-related harassments also increased due to the support of some mayors and congressmen to several barangay candidates.
Sana naman wag na silang makialam sa eleksyon na to.
PNP spokesperson, Police Chief Superintendent Jan Bulalakaw said the latest police figures show almost 8,000 hotspots in the country and many of these are in orange level category. Areas under yellow level category will have to add more PNP personnel, conduct intensified checkpoint and police visibility operation, conduct police operations such as serving of warrants and manning of polling centers. While areas part of the orange level will have to increase deployment of PNP and AFP personnel due to presence of threat groups. Local authorities in these areas will also have to conduct combat patrols, intel operations, maximum PNP engagement and checkpoint. Areas under red level, meanwhile, will have to implement maximum deployment of security forces. In these areas, police can act as board of election tellers and candidates are allowed to have security personnel.
ARMM, meron ng mga police personnel doon who have undergone this training already in preparation for the possible withdrawal of some teachers in areas where there will be violent incidents that may be reported.
The PNP have already deployed Joint Peace and Order Security Councils in local level. They are in charge of recommending to the COMELEC the areas considered as poll hotspots. Roderick Mendoza, UNTV, News and Rescue, Philippines.
The Commission on Elections is not worried even if a teacher will be a no-show come election day. Aiko Miguel tells us why.
A few days before the election, some teachers in Pikit, North Cotabato withdrew as Board of Election Tellers for the elections on Monday. But the Commission on Elections is not worried about this matter. According to COMELEC, there are still teachers who will serve as Board of Election Tellers in the absence of some.
Ang standard natin dyan ay parang merong 10 ata, parang ganyan na alternate for every place.
3 teachers are assigned inside each precinct as chairperson, poll clerk, and third member of the electoral board. Although the participation of teachers is voluntary based on the Election Service Reform Act, there are around 600 teachers who committed to serve on election day. And if ever some teachers will not be present, the poll body said there are police personnel who will replace them.
We have trained elements of the Philippine National Police so that in the case of absolute necessity, talagang kung walang magsiserve, baka ma-suspend yung elections, pwede tayo mag-field ng PNP.
But COMELEC warns a member of the electoral board who intentionally won't show up on election day just to delay or disrupt the election process will get arrested. Meanwhile, Action Desk from the COMELEC Finance Services Department or FSD will also have a spot at the COMELEC Command Center to answer queries and complaints of teachers about their cash card for their honoraria.
It will also enable us to weed out yung mga mistaken calls, no?
Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue, Manila.
Local police in southern Leyte are strictly monitoring the intense political rivalry among candidates. The Armed Forces of the Philippines, meanwhile, plans to send air assets to Abra for the upcoming polls on Monday. Aiko Miguel is back to tell us why.
The Southern Leyte Police Provincial Office is on alert due to intense political candidates in barangay and sangguniang kabataan elections. Police Senior Superintendent Warren De Leon said they conducted simulations and possible untoward events in the upcoming polls. Aside from this, there has been an information dissemination for cops in every barangay about the things they could do in case of altercations. The PNP Regional Office also sent 159 cops to serve as augmentation force.
Predicted namin na para ma-prevent yan doon sa tatlong areas, tatlong municipalities, yung Sugod at yung St. Bernard, saka yung Tomas Upos.
284 barangays in Eastern Visayas are in the election watch list of the PNP. First in the list is Northern Samar, followed by Samar, Eastern Samar, and Leyte. In Baguio City, around 159 barangays in the Cordillera region are considered as areas of concern by the Philippine National Police. First in the list is Abra, that have the most number of barangays in the poll hotspot due to intense political rivalry and presence of armed groups. With this, the Philippine National Police will send 100 Special Action Force commandos in the province to ensure the security there in the upcoming polls.
If anybody interfere in this undertaking comes Monday, we have a working order from the President to ensure that this election will be clean and honest.
Aside from this, the Armed Forces of the Philippines will also send air assets to Abra.
Looking at the configurations, the terrain, really we need to prioritize the deployment of air assets in there because we know the terrain itself, majority of the area is accessible.
Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
The gross domestic product output of the country has reached 6.8% in the first quarter of 2018. Meanwhile, the agricultural sector has reflected a weaker performance in the first 3 months of the year. Mai Bermudez will tell us why.
The Philippine economy has a blooming entrance for the first part of the year. This, according to the National Economic and Development Authority. From the 6.5 gross domestic product or GDP rate for the first quarter of 2017, it now reached 6.8% in the same quarter this year. Trade, manufacturing, and services sector have been the main drivers of growth for the first 3 months of 2018. Agriculture and fisheries subsectors meantime reflected a weaker performance. One of the reasons is when the National Food Authority or NFA reported a deficiency in the country's rice buffer stock. And to recover from this, NEDA said it's important to change the system and remove the commercial function of the agency to strengthen its rice storage capacity or buffer stocking.
We want the tarification of the rice and then removing the monopoly of the NFA over rice importation, and then for them to focus on buffer stocking.
During the meeting of NEDA Secretary Ernesto Perñat and President Rodrigo Duterte, the chief executive agreed to the suggestion of the agency to order the Congress to expedite amendments on RA 8178 or the Agricultural Tarification Act to allow the agricultural sector to regain its strength.
Yes, I told him we need to make this bill urgent so that it can be passed. And he agreed.
In a statement released by research group Ibon Foundation, it said the price increase in commodities will continue in the next 2 years once the additional excise taxes are imposed on petroleum products. It also refuted the claims of the economic managers that price surges of commodities are just temporary. Mai Bermudez, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
A lawmaker wants to push for additional subsidies for the families affected by the implementation of train law. Meanwhile, 2 proposals were filed in Congress that aimed at repealing and amending the train law. Nel Maribuhok will tell us why.
Some senators were dismayed over the reported failure of the Department of Social Welfare and Development to complete the distribution of subsidies to affected families of the tax reform law.
With inflation, tapos nade-delay pa yung additional tulong sa kanila, talagang kumbaga yung mga kababayan nating hirap, talagang mas mahihirapan.
A total of 24 billion pesos has been allocated for the unconditional cash transfer program for this year. The budget was allocated to the three programs with a total of 10 million households beneficiaries. Senate Committee on Economic Affairs Chairman Gatchalian wants to increase the cash subsidy to 450 pesos from 200 pesos. The senator said this is also in preparation for the expected increase in prices of diesel and gasoline in 2019 due to train law. Senator Aquino, meanwhile, filed a proposal to amend the train law, particularly the insertion of a new provision regarding the automatic suspension of the imposition of excise tax to petroleum products if it exceeds the inflation rate target of the government. In the lower house, the Makabayan bloc also filed today a proposal to repeal the train law. Based on House Bill number 7653, the old National Internal Revenue Code should be restored, particularly the taxes imposed on petroleum products, sweetened beverages, and other commodities.
Dapat maging efficient muna ang collection ng mga collection agencies natin, BIR and Bureau of Customs, sa halip na patawan ng mga bagong buwis ang ating mamamayan. No?
Nel Maribuhok, UNTV News and Rescue, Senate of the Philippines.
Mortality due to air pollution is high or is still high in the Philippines, or Philippine cities rather. The DNR attributes most of the pollution to vehicles. Ray Pelayo will tell us why.
Around 7 million die each year due to air pollution based on the latest report of the World Health Organization. About 1/3 or 2.2 million is from the Asia Pacific, where the Philippines is located. Victor is a jeepney driver and he just recently went to the doctor after he felt difficulty in breathing.
Pneumonia, tapos may nakita dun sa x-ray, may konting tubig yung baga ko. Pero madadala naman daw po sa gamot.
According to WHO, the top diseases caused by air pollution are lung and heart diseases. Dr. Robert C., the Assistant Medical Director of Chinese General Hospital and Medical Center, said a damaged organ may affect other organs in the body. He said that it is better to avoid high polluted areas or stay in an air-conditioned room.
Lahat ng sistema natin is an independent in itself. Ngayon, pag malala na yung mga diferensya ng mga organ natin, diyan mag-uumpisa na siya maka-apekto sa ibang organ.
Based on the Interagency Council on Traffic or IAC, they already intercepted 568 vehicles since they launched the Tanggal Usok, Tanggal Bulok program in January. Environment Undersecretary Jonas Leones said this is just one of the government's projects to solve the pollution problem in the country.
Based on our study, based on all records, 80% of the pollution in Metro Manila and some urban areas are coming from motor vehicles. So if we can address yung vehicular pollution, at least 80% solved na tayo.
The environmental group Healthcare Without Harm said aside from the government's program, individuals may also help in mitigating the impact of air pollution by walking or riding a bicycle. But they stressed that the government should also find a way to have all power plants converted from using coal to renewable energy.
Ngayon, lumalabas na mahigit kalahati ng ating kuryente ay coal pa din. At napakaliit lang na porsyento yung renewable energy.
Ray Pelayo, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
The National Water Resources Board will give more water allocations to the 2 water concessionaires in Metro Manila. Monokson will tell us why.
Despite the extreme heat this dry season, the water level in Angat Dam remains high. Today, the water level is 194.3 meters. This is 14 meters higher from the required level of 180 meters. This is enough to supply all the consumers in Metro Manila and irrigation systems in Luzon. But despite the high water level in Angat Dam, La Mesa Dam is now in critical level. Manila Water said this is due to the dry season.
Mas maraming
construction, mga high-rise buildings, so mataas na ang requirement niyan. Idagdag mo pa na summer na yon eh. So ang consumption o ang demand ng regular customers natin mas mataas dahil summer season. Tapos peak siya ng summer, wala pang masyadong ulan.
Manila Water adjusted the water pressure for their customers so that they won't have to implement a water interruption and to ensure that the supply will be enough. Affected areas are the elevated portions of Marikina, San Mateo, and Montalban in Rizal. To fill up the deficiency, Manila Water will request for additional allocation from the National Water Resources Board or NWRB. Every day, NWRB gives 4,000 million liters of water to the two concessionaires in Metro Manila. Aside from this, they have a 86 million liters reserve for emergency use.
Ang NWRB naman, hindi naman ipagkakait sa mga kababayan natin yan sa kasalukuyang panahon, no? Kasi nga po, medyo maganda ang level. Pero gayon pa man, no, mayroon ding responsibilidad, no, yung mga kababayan natin na kahit po nakahanda tayong magbigay ng karagdagang alokasyon, mas maganda rin pong maging responsable, no, sa paggamit ng tubig.
NWRB said Pag-asa told them that the rainy season might be earlier than expected. NWRB is hopeful that this will replenish the water in the reservoir. Mon Hokson, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
The new DOT chief will personally check all transactions of the agency as soon as she has taken over the post. Ray Pelayo will tell us why.
All transactions and documents should run through her hands. This is a policy of the incoming Tourism Secretary Bernadette Romulo Puyat. She said she will be meticulous, especially if a project has gone through proper bidding. She will also check the details of the 60 million pesos placement ad that recently echoed in the news when resigned Tourism Secretary Thio was in position.
Kasi kung hindi in order, ikaw rin ang tatamaan eh. So I really have to check everything na may proper bidding, there's transparency.
Puyat promised to maintain the reputation of their family, who is known to have served in the government. She said that even during her father's term as Foreign Affairs Secretary, he never took advantage of any privileges in applying for passports.
3 hours ako luminya. Tapos biglang nakaganon nakalagay, father's name. Sabi ko, Alberto Romulo. Tapos bilang, Alberto Romulo. Tapos sabi, kapangalan ako yung tatay ko, pero pinalinya niya ako.
The official is also likely to just continue to promote the tourism in the country using the slogan, "It's more fun in the Philippines."
Kung it works naman, why change it? Diba? Why will I create another slogan? Everybody likes "It's more fun in the Philippines."
Puyat will immediately meet Thio for the transition. Ray Pelayo, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
The Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency or PDEA plans to use drones in its war on drugs operations. The agency has acquired 20 drones with high-definition cameras. PDEA personnel has undergone training with the Civil Aviation Authority of the Philippines in using drones. PDEA Director General Aquino said all regions will be provided with a drone and a trained pilot.
Importante itong ng drones. It helps a lot in our operations. Mahirap kasing puntahan ng isang target area physically by using human beings, and definitely by using drones somehow makikita mo yung area, yung top view ng particular targets natin.
Meanwhile, PDEA will file complaints against a barangay official allegedly involved in illegal drugs trade. PDEA Director General Aquino, however, refused to name the said official, but revealed he is based in Metro Manila and is included in PDEA's narco list. Meanwhile, Aquino defended the agency's narco list to its critics.
It doesn't mean na if there are some typo error, it's not validated. Ang pinag-uusapan natin dito is yung validated by a report that they are involved in drugs or not. Huwag natin masyadong itingin kung wrong spelling or wrong. It's just a typo error. That's simple.
The Sandigan Bayan 3rd Division denied the motion of Janet Lim Napoles to be transferred to the Department of Justice's Witness Protection Program from her present detention cell in Camp Bagong Diwa in Taguig City. According to the court's ruling, there are no grounds to permit Napoles is transferred to other detention facilities. Napoles is facing plunder charges in connection with the pork barrel scam. Next on Y News. The Public Attorney's Office today filed 3 more complaints with the Department of Justice in relation to Dingbaksha deaths. The Department of Trade and Industry monitors the prices of basic commodities sold in stores in Boracay Island. Y News will be right back. I'm Darlene Basingan. Stay tuned for Victor Cosare. Good evening.
On Y News tonight, Malacanang sees a possible partial lifting of deployment ban in Kuwait once the agreement between the Philippines and the Gulf state is signed. Former President Benigno Aquino III will be facing another graft complaint in connection with the Dingbaksha controversy. The Department of Education believes that the full implementation of senior high school program is a success. Good evening. A partial lifting of deployment ban of overseas Filipino workers to Kuwait may likely to happen after the signing of agreement between the Philippines and Kuwait. Rosalie Cos will tell us why.
A memorandum of agreement is set to be signed tomorrow by the Philippines and Kuwait to ensure protection of overseas Filipino workers in the Gulf state. Presidential spokesperson Secretary Harry Roque said he is still asking clearance from President Rodrigo Duterte on the announcement. The signing of MOA will give way to the partial lifting of deployment ban of OFWs to Kuwait.
I would say that I am confident that with the signing of the MOA, merong partial lifting na mangyayari, pero hindi pa po siguro full lifting until we arrange the details, the other details.
The Philippine delegation led by Labor Secretary Silvestre Bello III and Presidential Spokesperson Secretary Roque went to Kuwait and met with the officials of the country's Interior Ministry to resolve the labor issues. Some provisions indicated in the agreement are non-confiscation of OFW's passports by the employers, 1 day off, enough rest, and food for the workers. They will also be allowed to use cell phones.
Yun ang naging mainit na debate yung passport ngayon dahil initially they agreed that the passport should be deposited with the Philippine Embassy. Pero sabi nila, hindi na kailangan ilagay sa MOU yan. Basta we will agree. So our technical working group insisted na kailangan dan sa MOU. So finally, after repeated argument, nag-agree na rin sila.
Newly designated Special Envoy to Kuwait Abdullah Mamao and Foreign Affairs Secretary Alan Peter Cayetano will also be going to Kuwait to witness the signing of the MOA. Kuwait also agreed to have a 24/7 special police unit that will act on complaints from distressed OFWs. Meanwhile, the 4 drivers who were detained after the controversial rescue mission are already freed.
Yung mga drivers, napawalan na, pero hindi po sila uuwi ng Pilipinas kasi dito talaga sila nakatira dito sa Kuwait at wala na silang mga kaso.
The Kuwaiti government will also shoulder the airfare of the remaining undocumented OFWs, numbering to almost 500. Some of them will be returning to the Philippines together with the Philippine delegation on Saturday. Roque reiterated that Kuwait Ambassador to the Philippines Saleh Ahmad Al-Tuiq helped a lot in arranging the meeting between the Philippine delegation and their Kuwaiti counterparts. Rosalie Cos, UNTV News and Rescue, Malacanang.
Former President Benigno Aquino III will be facing another complaint of malversation, plunder, and graft on the Dingbaksha controversy. Grace Casid will tell us why.
Citizens Crime Watch today filed plunder, malversation, and graft and corruption complaint against former President Benigno Aquino III before the Office of the Ombudsman. This was the 3rd complaint filed in the Ombudsman against the former president over the Dingbaksha controversy. Included in the respondents are former Executive Secretary Paquito Choa, former Budget Secretary Butch Abad, former Health Secretary Janet Garin, and 15 other former and sitting DOH officials. Citizens Crime Watch President Diego Magpantay said Aquino and his cabinet misused public funds in the procurement of Dingbaksha vaccines, which has been used in the government's national dengue immunization program. According to the group, out of 3.5 billion peso budget for the immunization program, 500 million pesos is still unaccounted for.
Ito'y minadali at sa tingin namin hindi talaga nangangailangan ng panturok na dengbaksa kundi kailangan nila ng pera dahil mag-i-eleksyon.
But according to Aquino's legal counsel and spokesperson Attorney Abigail Valte, the complaints has too little to do with a true desire to seek accountability, but more of a ploy to get more government posts for themselves. However, Valte said the former president is ready to respond to their unfounded complaints when required to do so. Grace Casin, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
The Public Attorney's Office today filed 3 more complaints with the Department of Justice in relation to Dengvaxia deaths. Roderick Mendoza will tell us why.
The quest for justice for the victims of Dengvaxia continues as the Public Attorney's Office today filed 3 more cases with the Department of Justice. Named respondents in the complaints were Health Secretary Francisco Duque and former Secretary Janet Garin, along with other DOH officials and Sanofi Pasteur and Zwilig Pharma executives. The new cases arise from the death of Mark Axel Ibonia, Ray Jasdin Alimagno, and Alexander Jaime. The PAO forensic team is convinced their deaths are a result of Dengvaxia injections.
Sa aming assessment, napatunayan na po kung ano po ang causes of deaths nitong mga batang halos sunod-sunod na namatay. Hindi po ito coincidental lang na 53 na po ang na-autopsy ng PAO na mayroong common pattern.
The mother of one of the victims pleaded with President Rodrigo Duterte to act on the issue.
Hanggang ngayon, hindi ko pa po naririnig ang tinig nyo, mahal na Pangulo. Lalo na sa akin, na ang aking anak naturukan na walang pahintulot ng magulang.
There are already 9 criminal complaints filed by PAO with the DOJ over the Dengvaxia mess. The preliminary investigation on the first cases will begin next Tuesday. Acosta said the president's plan to create a panel of foreign experts to probe Dengvaxia deaths will not affect their cases. Roderick Mendoza, UNTV News and Rescue, Manila.
President Rodrigo Duterte hints at firing another government official. Rosalie Cos will tell us why.
2 days after former Secretary Wanda Thio resigned from her post because of alleged anomaly in tourism deal, President Rodrigo Duterte said he is to sack another government official. The president made the statement when the country's central bank, the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, presented him the new generation currency banknotes and coins in Malacanang yesterday.
And you thought you might ever fall into the trap of believing na you are with the crowd for change. Well, those, nung nandyan there's another one coming up.
Several officials were already fired by the president after being accused of involvement in corruptions. Some of them were publicly named by the president for being involved in junkets.
You know, if you go to other places to attend important meetings that may affect the country, I would appreciate it. Pero kung climate change dito sa Brussels, then climate change sa Tokyo, climate change dito sa Indonesia, you've spent millions for that, and I do not see any improvement.
The chief executive also laments about some of whom he fired. He says most of them were the ones who convinced him to run in the presidency.
You know, if you'd notice, karamihan kong nawala sa akin, really the very first person who kay ganon ang bayan, kay ganon, corruption, there was crime and everything. I said, but I'm very sad that they are the very first to go.
Rosalie Cos, UNTV News and Rescue, Malacanang.
The Department of Education has reported today that the full implementation of senior high school program was a success. Joan Nano will tell us why.
Despite criticisms and protests against the implementation of the senior high school program of the Department of Education, more than 1.2 million students have graduated on the pilot year of the implementation of senior high school in the country. DepEd Secretary Leonor Briones said this exceeds the initial 700,000 students that they were expecting to enroll in senior high, making the program a success.
Expectations were exceeded, public response has been overwhelming, and government support has been very generous.
Based on the DepEd record, more than 600,000 students enrolled in academic track, while almost 500,000 enrolled under the technical, vocational, and livelihood track. On the other hand, students under the arts and design as well as sports track were only few. According to DepEd, 38% of these graduates are now eligible to get a job. Most of them are students who graduated under the TVL track since they were awarded with a national certificate, while other graduates still prefer to continue their studies in college. And to encourage more students as well as to help those senior high school graduates, the DepEd plans to conduct job fairs and coordinate with other private and government offices so they may prioritize to hire those who graduated from the senior high school program.
The economy is growing. We need more people to help us develop our economy, reach our development goals, and we prefer our own graduates.
Meanwhile, around 1.5 million students are expected to enroll in senior high school program this coming school year. Joanano, UNTV News and Rescue, Pasig City.
The Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources released the results of its water testing following the fish kill in 7 barangays in the town of Obando in Bulacan. Asher Kadapan Jr. will tell us why.
Lack of oxygen and presence of ammonia are among the possible causes of the fish kill in ponds in 7 barangays in Obando, Bulacan last Saturday. It is the result of the water testing in the Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources on water sample taken from affected fish pen. BFAR Region 3 Director Wilfredo M. Cruz says it is the effect of extreme heat with low tide.
Umabaw talaga yung tubig niya at the same time nasabayan ng init. Maring yung ammonia sa ilalim na galaw din kaya doon na trigger yung fish kill, kumalat siya.
By raising the water level, the ammonia that poisons the fish may be washed out.
Possibly 1 week, ganun. Depende sa tide kasi. Kung matataas yung tide, naiwawas ngayon kasi.
BFAR Undersecretary for Fisheries Eduardo Gongona said there is a total of 233 hectares of land in barangays in Obando that are affected by the fish kill. Affected fish pond owner will receive fingerlings.
Pag nalinis na nila yung mga pond nila, palaisdaan nila, bibigyan na namin kagad ng 3,000 fingerlings per hectare.
Bulacan Governor Wilhelmino C. Alvarado vowed to help in removing dead fish.
Well, sa ngayon yung ating provincial engineer ay magpapadala roon ng mga truck kasama yung ating benro para mapag-usapan yung proper environmental management disposal.
Prices of milk fish and tilapia in markets are expected to go back to normal next week. Asher Kadapan Jr., UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
The Department of Trade and Industry monitors the prices of basic commodities sold in stores in Boracay Island. Vincent Arboleda will tell us why.
The Department of Trade and Industry, or DTI, wants to avoid price hikes on basic commodities sold in grocery stores in Boracay. With this, the DTI is monitoring the prices of products sold in 11 supermarkets and grocery stores on the island now that livelihood of residents and displaced workers is affected by the government's ongoing rehabilitation project. Among the products being monitored by the department are canned sardines, processed milk, instant coffee, instant noodles, bread, laundry soap, candles, and potable water. Because 3 barangays are under a state of calamity, the law prohibits a price increase on the said products.
And so far, compliant naman yung ating mga stores doon sa prevailing price na sa automatic price ceiling na pinapatupad natin.
Since the automatic price ceiling was released on May 5, the DTI has been monitoring supermarkets and department stores in Boracay. There is a 3-week to 1-month supply of basic necessities in the said establishments for the residents and displaced workers on the island.
Sabi nila may pumapasok naman daw, nakaka-receive naman sila ng mga deliveries ng mga stocks.
Vincent Arboleda, UNTV News and Rescue, Boracay.
Philippine National Police Chief Oscar Albayalde clarifies that the decision to send the so-called PNP bashers to Mindanao is not a form of punishment. Roderick Mendoza will tell us why.
Philippine National Police Chief Oscar Albayalde sent the 11 policemen who allegedly criticized him on social media to Sulu. Aside from the 11 cops, Albayalde said another batch of cops is expected to be reassigned to Mindanao. Despite this, the PNP chief stated that the said cops are still not safe from the charges that will be filed against them, saying what they did is not right.
It is not a form of punishment yung reassignment at assignments ng mga tao. Yung mga sinasabi natin mga bashers na yon, they'll be charged accordingly for conduct unbecoming of an officer.
General Albayalde also refuted the observation of some that Mindanao is becoming the reassignment area of Iskalawag cops, particularly Basilan and Sulu. Albayalde said part of a cop's job is to be reassigned in different places.
Alam natin na kulang yung mga pulis din natin, especially here in parts of Mindanao.
Albayalde stressed that the so-called Iskalawags and Ninja cops who were sent to Basilan have not yet reported on duty, while others have been killed or have an encounter with fellow police officers. Meanwhile, some cops who were sent to Mindanao have been promoted due to good performance.
Yung iba, they are really appreciated, like in Region 12 and ARM, no? Ang sabi nila, napakagaling kasi magagaling silang mag-imbestiga.
Roderick Mendoza, UNTV, News and Rescue, Philippines.
Rafael Nadal eases nearer to another Madrid Open title. Asher Kadapan Jr. will tell us why.
In tennis, world number 1 Rafael Nadal recorded his 20th straight win on clay as he began his quest for a 6th title in Madrid, defeating Frenchman Gael Monfils 6-3, 6-1 on Wednesday. Meanwhile, Austrian Dominic Thiem battled back from a set down to beat Federico Del Bonis on and advance to the next round on the Madrid Open. The world number 7 won 4-6, 6-3, 7-5 in a hard-fought match against Argentine Del Bonis. His win sets up a meeting with Croatian Borna Koric. In the evening's other match, Alexander Zverev looked in commanding form as he got past Evgeny Donskoy 6-2, 7-5 and will meet Leonardo Mayer in the next round. Asher Kadapan Jr., UNTV News and Rescue.
The Malacanang PSC Kamao will step on the UNTV Cup hardcourt this Sunday. Bernard Dadis will tell us why.
The Malacanang PSC Kamao will strive to bounce back on Sunday as they meet the Ombudsman Grubbusters at the Pasig City Sports Center. The Kamao failed to topple the Senate Sentinels in the open match of the off-season games last Sunday. Kamao head coach Rafi Gonzalez admitted that more practices are needed for the gelling within the team.
Talagang kulang lang namin yung familiarity ng team namin. Talagang napakahirap ng sitwasyon na gano'n.
Gelling lang kasi nga galing kami sa iba't ibang ahensya ng ehekutibo. So practice lang talaga.
However, the Palace executive hoopsters believe their team is competitive. Last Sunday, Lieutenant Commander Paul Yamamoto led the team with 22 points. Special Assistant to the President Christopher Bongo made 15 points and Anti-Corruption Commissioner Grego Bellica made 12 points and 15 rebounds. Games and Amusement Board Chairman Abraham Khalil Mitra and PAGCOR Vice President Jimmy Bondok also made their contributions.
Palagay ko depensa lang kasi yung offense maraming scorer na guardia sa amin yung depensa medyo nalilin lang po kami minsan because of some basic plays. Pero napapag-usapan niya.
Bondok is thankful for being a part of the League of Public Servants for the first time.
Ang UNTV ay laging nangunguna sa napakadaming mga pioneer na projects and I am very honored to be part of any and all of your projects dahil talagang nakakatulong ito sa awareness. Kahit nakakatuwaan lang ang galing ng UNTV. Mabuhay kayo, God bless you all.
Bernard Dadis UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
Up next on Y News. 92-year-old Mahathir Mohamad wins as Malaysia's Prime Minister. U.S. President Donald Trump welcomes the American prisoners released by North Korea. Stay tuned for William Thio. I'm Victor Cosare. Good evening.
Good evening. Here are the top stories on Y News tonight. The number of election hotspots might double days before the May 14 Barangay and Sangguniang Kabataan elections. Department of the Interior and Local Government Undersecretary for Barangay Affairs Martin Dino said vote buying incidents are still prevalent in various parts of the country.
Marami pa rin kami na re-receive na reports, complaint.
The number of poll-related harassment also increased due to the support of some mayors and congressmen to several barangay candidates. Meanwhile, the Philippine economy has a blooming entrance for the first part of the year. This according to the National Economic and Development Authority, or NEDA. From the 6.5 gross domestic product or GDP rate for the first quarter of 2017, it now reached 6.8% in the same quarter this year. Trade, manufacturing, and services sector have been the main drivers of growth for the first 3 months of 2018. Agriculture and fishery subsectors, meantime, reflected a weaker performance. One of the reasons is when the National Food Authority, or NFA, reported a deficiency in the country's rice buffer stock.
We want the clarification of the rice and then removing the monopoly of the NFA over rice importation, and then for them to focus on buffer stocking.
Some senators were dismayed over the reported failure of the Department of Social Welfare and Development to complete the distribution of subsidies to affected families of the tax reform law. A total of 24 billion pesos has been allocated for the unconditional cash transfer program for this year. Senate Committee on Economic Affairs Chairman Sherwin Gatchalian wants to increase the cash subsidy from 200 pesos to 450 pesos. The senator said this is also in preparation for the expected increase in prices of diesel and gasoline in the 2019 due to the train law. A memorandum of agreement is set to be signed tomorrow by the Philippines and Kuwait to ensure protection of overseas Filipino workers in the Gulf state. Presidential spokesperson Secretary Harry Roque said the signing of a MOA will give way to the partial lifting of deployment ban on OFWs to Kuwait.
I would say that I am confident that with the signing of the MOA, merong partial lifting na mangyayari, pero hindi pa po siguro full lifting until we arrange the details, no other details.
The Philippine delegation led by Labor Secretary Silvestre Bello III and the presidential spokesperson Secretary Roque went to Kuwait and met with the officials of the country's Interior Ministry to resolve the labor issues. Roque reiterated that Kuwait Ambassador to the Philippines Saleh Ahmad Al-Quaik helped a lot in arranging the meeting between the Philippine delegation and their Kuwaiti counterparts. Citizens Crime Watch today filed plunder, malversation, and graft and corruption complaints against former President Benigno Aquino III before the Office of the Ombudsman. Included in the respondents are former Executive Secretary Paquito Ochoa, former Budget Secretary Butch Abad, former Health Secretary Janet Garin, and 15 other former and sitting DOH officials. Citizens Crime Watch President Diego Magpantay said Aquino and his cabinet misused public funds in the procurement of Dengvaxia vaccine, which had been used in the government's national anti-dengue immunization program. Despite criticisms and protests against the implementation of the senior high school program of the Department of Education, more than 1.2 million students have graduated on the pilot year of the implementation of senior high school in the country. DepEd Secretary Leonor Briones said This exceeds the initial 700,000 students that they were expecting to enroll in senior high, making the program a success.
Expectations were exceeded, public response has been overwhelming, and government support has been very generous.
Meanwhile, around 1.5 million students are expected to enroll in senior high school program this coming school year. Fair weather will be experienced throughout the country tomorrow. Tell us why, Leslie.
Yes, William, no weather disturbance is expected to develop or enter the Philippine area of responsibility. Meanwhile, easterlies continue to affect the country. Metro Manila and the rest of the country will experience partly cloudy to cloudy skies with isolated rain showers. Today's heat index, or the temperature people feel, is highest in Cotabato City, Maguindanao with 45.8 degrees Celsius. According to Pag-asa, temperature in Metro Manila tomorrow will range from 25 to 35 degrees Celsius, 25 to 36 degrees Celsius in Tagaytay City, 24 to 33 degrees Celsius in Metro Cebu, and 25 to 34 degrees Celsius in Metro Davao. Tomorrow, the sun is expected to rise at 5:30 in the morning. That's weather forecast. Back to you, William.
Thank you very much, Leslie Longbowen from the UNTV Weather Center. And for the news abroad, here is June Garin live from Paris, France. Good morning, June.
Thank you, Will. The United States' decision to reimpose nuclear-related sanctions on Iran has pushed up oil prices while raising concerns about potential supply squeeze. Iran is the third largest oil producer in the Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, or OPEC, and the world's fifth largest oil producer. At one point on Tuesday, the West Texas Intermediate for June delivery surged 2.95% to $71 per barrel on the New York Mercantile Exchange, and Brent crude briefly surpassed $77 a barrel on the London ICE Futures Exchange. Both reached new highs in almost 3 years. On Wednesday, China's newly launched crude oil futures also hit an all-time intraday high of 466.6 yuan per barrel. Experts say that the rapidly rising oil prices could adversely affect the world economy in the short run. Israel says Iran launched rocket attack on its army base in Syria. Maylin Soriano tells us why.
Israel said Iranian forces in Syria launched a rocket attack on Israeli army bases in the Golan Heights early today, prompting one of the heaviest Israeli barrages in Syria since the conflict there began in 2011. The attack on the Israeli-occupied Golan Heights is the first time Iranian forces have hit Israel from Syria, where they have deployed along with Iran-backed Shiite militias and Russian troops to support President Bashar al-Assad in the 7-year-old civil war. Syrian state media said dozens of Israeli missile strikes hit a radar station, Syrian air defense positions, and an ammunition dump, underscoring the risks of a wider escalation involving Iran and its regional allies. Israel said the Iranian salvo of 20 Grad and Fajr rockets were shut down by its Iron Dome air defense system or fell short of the Golan targets. It claims that the Quds Force, an external arm of Iran's Revolutionary Guards, carried out the launch. The country also said that it had forewarned Russia of its strikes on Thursday against multiple targets in Syria.
אתמול הייתי אופטימי לגמרי, והיום אני פחות. וכמו שאמרתי, אני מכיר את המציאות. אני לא גר בגבול ניו זילנד אוסטרליה. אנחנו נמצאים פה מול סוריה ומול לבנון, וזאת המציאות. ואנחנו נתגבר עליה בכוחות משותפים, בעיקר עם צה"ל.
Maylin Soriano, UNTV News and Rescue, Middle East.
U.S. President Donald Trump welcomed 3 former U.S. prisoners who landed at a military base near Washington on Thursday after being released by North Korea, thanking leader Kim Jong-un and sounding upbeat on a planned summit between the two. The prisoners freed after U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo traveled to the North Korean capital. landed at Joint Base Andrews outside Washington, where a giant U.S. flag was suspended between ladders of 2 fire trucks on the edge of the taxiway. Trump and his wife boarded the plane, which arrived at around 2:40 a.m. local time for several minutes before the men stepped out, shaking hands with the president and waving to waiting media and military personnel. After the release of the prisoners, a U.S. official said the summit between Trump and Kim will likely take place in Singapore. Former Malaysian leader Mahathir Mohamad will soon be back to the Prime Minister office. Myla Guevara tells us why.
An alliance of opposition parties spearheaded by Mahathir Mohamad won Malaysia's general election on Thursday, setting the veteran strongman on course for a return to the Prime Minister's office he occupied for 22 years. 92-year-old Mahathir's stunning defeat of the ruling coalition of former Prime Minister Najib Razak means he will become the oldest elected leader in the world. Najib's coalition had ruled the Southeast Asian country since independence from Britain 6 decades ago. Mahathir has also promised to seek a royal pardon for jailed opposition leader Anwar Ibrahim if they win the election. He vowed that once Anwar is free, he would step aside and let him become Prime Minister.
Among the first things we will do is to seek not only for his release, but also for his pardon, full pardon. Full pardon means he can immediately take part in politics.
His opponent, former Prime Minister Najib Razak, already conceded following the release of poll results.
Saya menerima, rakan-rakan saya pun menerima keputusan yang telah dibuat oleh rakyat, ataupun I accept the verdict of the people, dan Parti Barisan Nasional adalah committed kepada menghormati prinsip-prinsip demokrasi berparlimen.
But Najib appeared to have raised doubts that his mentor-turned-foe would succeed him as Prime Minister after his defeat. He explains the next Prime Minister would be decided by Malaysia's king as no single party won a simple majority. Myla Guevara, UNTV News and Rescue, Southeast Asia.
A local ambulance rescue reported that at least 21 people were killed when a dam in western Kenya's Nakuru County burst into walls, overrunning homes. The incident happened in a farmland near the town of Solai, 190 kilometers from the capital, Nairobi. The Kenyan Red Cross said 39 people have been taken to hospital, while the search and rescue operations of local authorities continue. And those are the latest news from the other parts of the globe. Back to you, Will.
Thank you very much, Jun Garin, live from Paris, France. Therapy dogs are being called to a dentist's chair to calm fears of children with autism. Nina Armilio tells us why.
It's never easy for children to visit the dentist, but it can be especially challenging if the child suffers from autism. Now in Chile, therapy dogs are being called to the dentist's chair to soothe fears. Zuka is a black therapy Labrador. Her owner, Raul Varela, started a non-profit organization called Junto a Ti, or Next to You, 5 years ago. It is launched specifically for children with autism, who are often susceptible to shock from the bright lights and noisy equipment at dental offices.
Baja mucho el estrés de los niños y eso se nota al tiro, sobre todo con los niños autistas, con los niños Down, pero con la experiencia que tenemos, que no es mucha, con algunos niños sí baja bastante el estrés.
Varela, who also has an autistic child, started the organization in Chile's capital, Santiago, when he noticed that his child's behavior changed while interacting with a family dog. He then quit his job and became certified as a therapy dog trainer for children with autism.
Entonces, con un súper buen feedback de los papás, los médicos, al comienzo, obviamente que uno tiene que ir venciendo alguna resistencia, pero cuando van viendo los resultados y comparan entre el atender a un niño con anestesia general en un pabellón versus una atención.
Nina Armilio, UNTV News and Rescue.
Those are the reasons behind the news. May 10, 2018. I am William Thio, and because we need to know, we will always ask why. Thank you for watching Y News.